What's up, ladies and gents, Noah here, and welcome back to a brand new Payday series. This is DSOD A to Z, a series where I'm going to be going through every single heist in Payday 2 in alphabetical order, running through them on the hardest difficulty, giving you some tips and tricks as to how I get through them to help you guys unlock your DSOD masks. Now, these aren't going to be exceedingly hardcore runs. I'm not going to be playing incredibly cleanly. I'm not doing no downs. I'm bringing AI along to make sure I can afford to make mistakes. But the whole idea is this is an everyman's guide to DSOD. This is an incredibly hard difficulty, and a lot of people are totally frightened off by it. But I believe just about anyone can play through it once you have a decent build. First and foremost, probably the most important thing is you have a good build together that keeps you alive on this difficulty where things are pretty tough. And also a good understanding of how the maps work, objectives, and some very important mechanics like skills such as bullseye, armor gating, or a perk deck like I'm running here with Stoic, which is probably the strongest perk deck in the game. Maybe not my favorite, but definitely the strongest. So a little later on in this video I will go through the build, but just quickly, why am I doing this? Well, first of all, I want a chance to talk a little bit more candidly with you guys. This is a little bit closer to how things are on stream. For those of you who've been watching, thank you so much. I did stream a few times on YouTube and over on Twitch. Link to the Twitch in the description down below. I just got affiliate status over there, so I'm going to be predominantly focusing my streams over there. If you enjoy this style of casual commentary and Payday gameplay, that should probably be right up your alley, and what it does is it allows me to actually interact with you guys and take your questions live. It's a big part of the stream, something I'm quite proud of being able to keep up. So do come on over to the streams if that sounds like something you would enjoy. But yeah, it's to allow me to do that a little bit more on this platform over on YouTube, but also it gives me a chance to show you guys that all these heists are very doable. DSOD is a difficulty that you guys can stretch to, and you can start bringing up your gameplay on this difficulty, but also it means I can make some videos that allow me to be consistent without spending quite as much time editing, because I'm hitting a very busy phase right now. For those of you that don't know, I am been a university student for 6 years. It's been quite some time. This is hopefully my final year, my final exam, so it's very important I do well in this, and with the amount of editing that goes into my videos, it's just unsustainable. So to keep up a fairly consistent upload schedule during this period, being able to make this sort of casual live commentary or post commentary depending on the heist is a godsend for me. So I hope you enjoy. I hope you appreciate that I'm not going to stop doing any of the other content. It's just going to be less frequent right now. And what I do want to ensure you of, first of all, thank you so much for the amazing, consistently amazing support with the story series. I know it's what you guys enjoy the most. It's probably what I enjoy making the most as well, to be honest. I love it. The series is brilliant. I am very proud of it. The best stuff I've ever put on YouTube. That is not going to stop. That's not even going to change right now, even with me becoming a lot busier. The reason why I'm wanting to do this sort of series is to keep up my general schedule, my consistent uploads. By the way, I just down there. That will happen twice on this heist. I cut it a little bit close. I'm running Stoic, no med bags. So, like I say, don't expect perfect, clean gameplay. I could have played that better, trust me. But you don't have to play it better. I don't have to play it better. We still managed to get through the heist. It's important we keep trying to better ourselves and get better at Payday 2 in the process. But I do think when it just comes to unlocking your DSOD mask, it's about what works. And going down there wasn't the smartest move I've ever made, but we still get the heist done, and that's what's important at the end of the day. But what I'm trying to stress is I'm going to be dropping some of those heavier editing videos just for the next month or so, but I'm maintaining the story episode to an episode every 2 weeks. It's the process I've had the entire way through, so expect in November to see all the way up to episode number 10, and then 11, 12 in December. So I hope you're all excited for that. Nothing is changing. Like I say, thank you so much for the amazing response. But I do think it's important that I talk about the heist a little bit, give you some tips and tricks. This is Aftershock. It's a tough heist. There's a few reasons why I'm doing post-commentary here. First of all, it gives me a chance to explain the series and maybe be just a little bit more structured than these episodes are normally going to be. But more importantly than that, this is a very difficult heist, and it needed my full concentration, and I was just slowly destroying my voice by attempting it, getting pretty rough RNG or making misplays, and, recording for 10 minutes, realizing, oh, this isn't happening. We're going to have to restart. So that's the reason why you're seeing post-commentary here. I had to wait till I had a successful run. It didn't take me too long in the end. I ended up with this incredibly, incredibly fortunate RNG. I don't think there are better truck spawns than this. Being close to the escape location is huge on this heist. Because what we want to do is not have to move the safes too far. And you've already seen me make use of one of the tricks that I really think you guys should keep in mind on Aftershock, but I'll show you it again when we break into the second van. It's a great way to get the safes out of the vans and start moving them towards where the escape is without having to put yourself in a lot of danger. And it's a slightly busted mechanic that maybe Overkill should take a look at. It should not be working like that. I actually think the vans are slightly bugged right now. I managed to get underneath one of them before and take total cover. So, yeah, they work strangely, but it does mean Aftershock is a much more doable heist. Like I say, this is a tough heist. You need all the tips and tricks you can get. I think that though there's a lot of cover on this mission, and if you're smart, you move well, you can leverage that cover to play quite safely. Spawns are extremely wide-ranging, and one of the hardest things about DSOD is the fact there is no damage drop-off from those heavy SWATs. So they're going to do the same amount of damage whether they're up close and personal to you, or they hit you with a pot shot from across the map. It will feel like you're being sniped. So on a map like Aftershock, where the enemies are very spread out, they come from the top, they come down and spawn in a slightly difficult-to-kill fashion. I know I just destroyed those guys who spawned down from the zip lines, but normally they come down in a slightly more awkward way than, say, just funneling through an entranceway. It does make this heist one of the harder ones, in my opinion, and moving safes in solo is a pain, and trying to get them on the AIs back, not always the smartest move. But you can see, here's the big tip: take the safes out through the walls of the vans. It makes things so much easier, a lot less fiddly. It's definitely not intended, but it's a mechanic you should definitely use if you're trying to get through this heist on any difficulty, but particularly on DSOD, where putting yourself in the mouth of the van is a bit of a dangerous location to be in, whereas you can use the van for cover if you stay on the outside of it. So yeah, I recommend when you are playing with AI, as I am here, with loot as heavy as safes, don't put the safes on their backs. It will slow them down. They will path really poorly. I think another thing that's difficult about this heist, because of all the trains set out in the middle, the AI seem to path very unintelligently for whatever reason. And that will cause you problems. I also recommend, if you want to keep things done in a timely manner, you try and get the second van open basically as soon as you finish drilling through the last. I like to try and move the safes into a slightly smarter position first, but the sooner you get that drill on and done with the second safe, the sooner Bile can come in with the C4 and get the sort of final stage of the heist going, because otherwise this one can seriously drag on. And because of how open it is, because of how awkward the spawns can be, there are plenty of chances for you to make mistakes, go down, and end up throwing a pretty good run, which fortunately I didn't do here. Thank God for Stoic, thank God for Uppers. So that lets me segue just quickly onto the build. I don't have all the details of the build now, but you guys will be seeing it. But some very key skills. This is a very standard build, by the way. This is basically as basic as it gets when it comes basically as basic. Yeah, we're not re-recording that. That's good English. This is as basic as it gets in terms of builds. We're using one of the most powerful weapons in the game, an LMG, the KSP. It's high meta. We're using the Compat 40, another great weapon. Amazingly paired with Stoic, because if you see a lot of enemies, standard enemies with less than 1,300 health, you can just quickly fire it into a group of them. Immediately, there's your Stoic recharge. Such a good secondary. That stuff, very simple. It's weaponry you should be very used to if you've played anywhere near this difficulty. Stoic is a perk deck that you should learn. It's the strongest perk deck in the game. It might not be my favorite, but it is absolutely the strongest. Once you learn how it works, it's the only way really to cleanly and consistently play one down without going down at all. Because you have so many tools in your arsenal, with first aid kits, with uppers, with the actual flask itself, and your ability to rapidly recharge that flask, like I mentioned, with the compact. Or I run variants of this build when I know I can get a lot more ammo, if, say, I'm playing with teammates, where instead of the compact, I'll run the commando. That's even stronger for getting a quick recharge. So, yeah, it's all very standard. We run Hostage Taker. We don't need Inspire, thanks to the fact we're bringing AI along. So instead, we run the ICTV to make us even tankier with our Stoic. This is about as safe and as difficult to kill as you can possibly be in the game. Hostage Taker, Partners in Crime, body expertise as well. LMGs aren't incredibly consistent over range. Even the KSP, with its pretty damn busted stats, not super consistent. So I recommend body expertise. It will let you kill enemies a lot faster and with a little bit less need for those headshot flicks, which, like I say, can be slightly inconsistent with LMGs. What else to say about the build, really? Oh yeah, the reason why I don't run the M60, even though I prefer it as a weapon, we need a bit more DPS. The one thing this build is lacking is damage multipliers. We don't have Berserker. I prefer Berserker in Anarchist sort of setups. We don't have crit, because obviously we could be running Unseen Strike, I suppose, but that isn't always the most consistent way to do things, especially on a wide open heist like this, where you often will be taking fire. So we need the KSP. It has higher DPS. It's much better for dealing with bulldozers than the M60. That's why, even though it's not my favorite LMG, it's well worth running on this sort of build without damage multipliers. And there you see the third piece of incredible good luck. The C4 lands right in front of me, which means I can quickly get the C4 to the wall for the breach. But here's one of the other most important things about the heist. Like I say, driving is terrible in Payday 2. We all know that. Diesel, X-driving engine, bad mechanics, old meme. Yeah, it's pretty bad. So what we want to do is drive as little as possible on this heist. We want all the saves to be at least up to these train carriages, because this is one of the few places I think you can drive the truck without running into too many problems. There's a lot of cover around there. If you reverse the truck in, as you're about to see me do, you can quite easily get all the saves into the truck while in cover. But trying to do that all the way onto the opposite side of the map, where there's a lot less cover, it's a much longer drive, and you're very exposed while in the truck, even with Stoic, because you can't drink and drive, apparently. It's going to be tough. So I recommend moving these safes by hand. Now, in solo, that becomes a lot harder. So I move a few of the safes by hand, and then the others I just sort of set up around the train area, and I'll move them later with the truck itself. But if you're playing with a team, move every single safe all the way up to the truck. It saves what is probably the most awkward part of the heist. And like I say, my RNG here was very good, which made things an awful lot easier when it comes to this section. But also moving the safes during a fade or during the early stages of a build in an assault will make things a lot easier. This is, aside from maybe the escape, the part where I have the most mistakes on Aftershock as a heist in particular. But once you have that down, you should be okay. Remember, move the safes by hand. It's a lot easier to defend yourselves. Driving is bad. And if you do get spawns, for example, up top with the safes, that's not so bad. It's actually the safes on the far side. If the trucks decide to crash right on the far side of the heist, back where I'm looking right now, opposite wall, that's where you're going to have the greatest issues. If you get them up top, you can just as easily drop the safes down below onto the train carts, and things will also be absolutely fine if you do that. It's a little bit more awkward than the spawns I got. I have to admit, I got very lucky with my RNG, but it's still very doable. You don't have to reset every time. So I think that's most things about Aftershock touched on until we get to the final holdout. I'll mention that a little bit later. That's another place where I tend to make mistakes and things do get a little bit more difficult. A little bit close to me failing, I have to say, on this particular run. But I just quickly want to talk about some other topics. That's going to be the idea with the series, whether I'm doing live commentary or not. Answer your questions in the future, maybe talk about some of your build ideas, maybe play some of your build ideas. If you want me to try and suffer through some DSOD heists with difficult to run builds just to prove it can be done, that's fine by me. Those videos might take a little bit longer to make, but oh well, I do think messing around with builds is a ton of fun. So if you want me to try out different perk decks that aren't quite as busted as Stoic, Anarchist or Kingpin, that's fine. Give it a go, put it in the comments, and I will try it out. But I would rather it was on a slightly easier heist than Aftershock, because this one really can be tough if you don't use the best build you have at your disposal. And I think for solos with AI, this is probably the best build I could possibly fathom. I'm sure there are those of you out there who disagree with me, and that's absolutely fine. I'd love to hear your ideas in the comments. But yeah, that's going to be the format. We're going to have some more casual commentary. So I've already mentioned the story. Thank you so much for that. I want to talk about what I'm going to do after the story, because I have had a few questions. I could do more story content for other games. There are a lot of games that have similar audiences to Payday. I know you guys are fans of Left 4 Dead, GTFO. I would like to touch those games. It's a serious option for the future. But I think in the short term, when the story series finishes, it'll probably be finished this side of the new year. I know some people will be disappointed about that. I'm going to cover some more stuff in detail. Trust me, the secret stuff, I don't think I can just make a single video talking through the secret and how it was solved. There's a lot more to it than how I normally do the story stuff. So that will be content I'll be making probably after the new year. But also there's more lore hidden in the game than you realize. I'd love to go through the mask lore, for example. There's a lot of hidden facts and details hidden in mask descriptions in Payday, and that's really interesting stuff. So Trust me, there's a lot more Payday 2 lore and story content out there to be made, even after I've covered the base story. And don't forget, there's more content coming out with the whole Breakfast in Tijuana, Silk Road campaign. So that stuff, fortunately, is still coming. There will still be Payday 2 story content for you to be made. And then soon, Payday 3 is on its way. Probably going to be time soon enough, once I've done the series, to start speculating which direction they're going to go with Payday 3's story. But that's all for a future video, don't worry. I'm not just going to be milking the whole Payday 3 speculation train over and over again. We've had our fair share of that for now. Anyway, why is my crime spree build taking too long? This is a question I asked myself. That's because it's essentially 5 builds. It's essentially 5 builds. Every single build needs to be tested. I need more man hours in the mode. Some people have thousands of hours purely in Crime Spree, and I don't think I can make a definitive guide without at least a fair portion of that. So what I'm doing on stream right now is I'm playing through early Crime Sprees a lot with you guys. It gives me a chance to have some more casual commentary, but I'm learning a fair few things about how to progress quickly through Crime Spree, a lot about the mechanics, what builds work, what builds don't. But don't forget, you need a basic build to get yourself through the very early Crime Sprees, which is just about speedrunning. You need a build when you start taking a lot more damage. Something like Stoic is the shift I make. You need a build when enemies start becoming a lot tankier. I like to switch over to snipers with greys. That can have a lot of DPS. Oh god, don't watch my awful driving here, by the way. But as you can see, we have actually loaded up the truck easily enough, and this was a pretty good time to move. We have the endless police assault, but it was decent timing with me getting over there. That's the problem. If you fill up the entire van on the other side of the map, you're going to get hit by an endless police assault, and you're never going to get back over here, which really sucks. What was I talking about? Crime Spree, yeah. So you need a build later on where you need more damage. So, like I say, I switch over to snipers, and then you need a ton of damage, so you switch over to stuff like the Thanatos, and then you need a build that's all about survival and occasionally killing enemies with the whole damage granulation mechanic. So that's at least sort of 4 or 5 builds that are all separate. They all need testing, and that's why the Crime Spree video is taking longer to make, and I would like it to be really good, and like I say, basically the definitive guide for the game mode until they decide to release an update that changes everything. I don't think they're going to do that, but if it happened, I'd be a little bit frustrated. But like I say, that video was voted for. It's still coming. Just give me a little bit more time with it. As we draw to the end of this, you can see we're at the holdout section for the waiting for the helicopter. I don't think I'm positioning very well. I actually think where I was before, closer to the toilet, next to those like portaloos, I go back there later on. I recommend holding out there. There are probably better options as well on the opposite side, but this was a fine holdout thanks to Stoic. If you need harder cover, maybe head over to that building, but I know there are some awkward spawns over there. So this is, again, a tough part of the mission. I don't have enough experience to give you the perfect guide, but finding yourself in a cover, in a corner where enemies aren't spawning behind you is pretty important. So you'll see where I head back over later. That worked for me. You guys might prefer other locations. It gets pretty tense, trust me. Not the cleanest way to do it. Stoic is such a powerful perk deck. What else can I say? Keep in mind that my hip flash timings were pretty sweet there. I enjoyed that. That's what kept me alive. But then Mr. Minigun Dozer decides it's time for me to die. Always get the first aid kit down quickly, because with Stoic on DSOD, it's very easy to double down, and that messes you up. And in that case, I would have failed the entire mission. You start to see, by the way, my gameplay gets a little bit more nervous. But one final topic I wanted to talk about today is my take on DSOD, because I know a lot of people have a really hard time with the mode. They think it's not fun at all, and sometimes it's not fun at all. Sometimes it is very frustrating. Certain heists can be very frustrating. Certain unfortunate spawns can be annoying. But I think that once you have the knack of DSOD, it's the most fun way to play. That and maybe Death Wish. Death Wish has more of the casual arcadey elements. Death Sentence, you have to play a lot cleaner, and you have to use... You don't have to, but if you're like me and you're not one of these incredibly good players, you do have to stick to some of the more meta content. So I recommend, first and foremost, if you want to get into DSOD, learn Stoic. It makes your life so much easier. It's the tankiest perk deck in the game. It's a lot more consistent than running something like Dodge. You're reliant entirely on your own skill, your own understanding of the perk deck, and there are so many tools to get your hip flash recharge faster, to keep yourself alive with first aid kits. Once you've learned all that, you will find yourself able to solo most DSOD content. From there, I say move over to some of the more fun but potentially more dangerous perk decks to run. Things like Anarchist. You'll have to learn how armor gating works to the extreme. And just so you know, guys, my best build video shows off the Anarchist ICTV setup. ICTV Anarchist is incredibly strong on lower difficulties. Once you get up to DSOD, you're much better off with Suit. That has been shown to me multiple times. I am very comfortable admitting that right now. Move over to Suit. Because the Suit recharges so much faster, it means you're going to armor gate more frequently. On DSOD, that's far more important than the extra armor, the extra few shots you're able to take. So please, you can still copy my build, but switch on over to the Suit when you're playing DSOD. Definitely worth doing. But yeah, once you've done that, move over to Anarchist, try out Kingpin. Maybe some of the decks like Sicario and Hacker. They're still definitely viable. And then you can start pushing the envelope with things like Crew Chief, where you have to be an incredibly good player to get it done. But as you see, this is the escape. Setting up those first aid kits next to it is a great idea. It means basically if the enemies are focusing you down, you do get a second chance. And that is Aftershock. 2 downs, not perfect. 37 hit percent accuracy, that's okay. Just under 200 kills. Not a bad heist. I'm happy with it. Getting Aftershock done solo in DSOD is never a bad feat. So I hope you have enjoyed. I hope you've learned a thing or two. And I hope you enjoy the casual commentary. Remember, leave your comments down below with some build suggestions, as well as giving me some topics you'd like me to discuss in the next A to Z casual commentary Payday content. I'll see you all very soon. As ever, thank you very much to my Mean Infamy patrons and above. If you want to join that infamous club to see yourself in the credits or get early exclusive access to my videos, including the story videos, check out my Patreon link below. Remember, the Discord is open to all if you crave some more Payday discussion. Thank you very much for watching this video, and I'll see you all very soon for the next one.